The problem is that this is a tree-like structure. I can't connect to the same room from two different like parents, for instance. Like if I had something called full house or something, right? I also had a study. I wanted to use the same study. It would have to be a separate room node. So I have to reconfigure this so that I can go to any room that's connected, not use this recursive function I have in here. Again, to briefly describe the room manager, it changes the room. It checks for the parent or the children. So halfway house, its only parent is right here. Its children are study, hat room, and book of spells. Change room is easy. So you press a number, then it searches for the room. It searches through the parent. If the room name is the same as the parent, then it returns the parent. If it's the same name as one of the immediate children, then it returns the children. But I have no way of going anywhere else, and that's because of the nature of the tree-like structure. So I'm going to have to rewrite it so that I can go to any room I choose via the name. This works as it always has. You can just hit a number key and you can go to an option and then 0 to quit. That works fine. I moved all of the scenes from its hierarchy to be under Room Manager, although you can't really tell that Room Viewer is any different than the rest of these, other than the fact that it's an actual scene and these are not scenes yet. But these are all scenes, and then I just wrote a new function called Find Connected Room. Goes through the children's there by self, which is the Room Manager's the parent, so it's just going to go through all of these and then find connected room, make sure it's the room descriptor, then it checks for the name. And then I just change the input handler to use find connected room instead, and it works like it always does. So now I have all these scenes I removed from the room manager because I'm doing it dynamically and I'm doing it with code. I modified change room to only take a string, which is the name of the room. What this change room does is it brings in the string, it checks to see if the current room is not null, then it'll remove the child because presumably I added the child already. Then it frees up the memory for that, and then I set it to null explicitly just to make sure that I'm sure. Once it's null, I can load the scene file based on the string. Notice how it says res scenes, which is the path here, and then I concatenated the room name, concatenated the .tscn scene file, and then I instantiated it right there. I added the child to the room manager because it's actually in the room manager. Now it just does everything like normal. If the room exists, if it's not null, basically it will add the description to the actual viewer text. And then I modified the input event a little bit. I removed this choice thing, and it still does the action name. It still picked the choice number 1 through 9, but then it directly brings in the string and then loads up the room based on the choice. Let's go to halfway house again, scene, and remember how the choices are here. Study, hat room, book of spells, those are the names, and so that's what goes into there. And so all it's doing is it's loading up the correct scene, which is down here. There you have it working. And then when I want to quit the game completely, I make sure I remove the child current room if it's not null, and I free the area of the space taken up by current room. I don't know if it actually frees it. It says queue free. That means it puts it in queue, and then when you go to load it up again, I think it manages it somehow or whatever. This is the final result here, and that is everything works like it's supposed to. Go there, I can hit 0 to, I can go back to the foyer, I can hit 0 to quit, and everything works like it should. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to create our new door object, and I'm going to do that by creating a new script and call it door. I'm going to make sure that we're in scripts create. So I want to take the room, so I'm just going to copy these two here. Copy, let's go to door, paste, but we're not going to call it room, we're going to call it door. We're not going to call this room name, we're going to call this destination. We'll say blank room, which is fine. We're going to add a door to the study. Let's put it right under there. Door. There we go. We'll make a copy of the main menus. Duplicate. I'll call it upper level to go back to the lower level. So we're not going to the foyer from here. We're actually going to go to the lower level from here. We just want to clear this out. We don't want to actually remove the item. Okay, like that. Upper level is its own room. I'm not going to worry about the choices because we are going to add a door. Here you are on the upper level of the study with even more books to go through. Hit 1 to go back to lower level. Except we're not having a choice here because we're adding these doors. And so we're going to add a door here. In fact, I'm going to see if I can make these both work at the same time. And eventually the choices array will be just doors. We can call the doors something else when we're done. We want to go back to the study. So destination is study. Okay, let's go back to the study. The destination is upper level. Let's go ahead and rename this upper level. We're going to call this door to study. Doors pointing both ways. Let's run this just to make sure everything is still working okay. Doesn't matter because there's nothing here. One, study. One, go back to the floor. One, go back to the story. Study, 0. The next thing we need to do is we need to go into Room Manager. The door script needs to have choice number. I can make it a string. Let's do export, and then I'll add choice. Now you're linked to the choice. Now door to upper level. One is to go back to the foyer, and we can make 2 the door to the upper level. There we go. We can make 2 the choice. Destination, of course, is upper level. And then let's go to the upper level door, and we can actually do 1 just to go back to the study. So that will be choice 1. Okay. So I'm essentially kind of doing the same thing. And even though I don't necessarily need to do it, a couple things it does. One is I can have a visual on what doors lead where on what room. The upper level is technically its own room. Door to study is the only door here, but if you had multiple doors, they'd each have based on their choice. You have to make sure those are unique also. You have to make sure that you have enough choices. That is, you can only go 1 to 9, and if you do 0, it'll still exit. So upper level doesn't have any choices. In the study, choices are 1 halfway house, and the door to the upper level is of course option 2. Let's reflect that here. To go to the upper level, you also notice second level also filled with books. Upper level. In the choices array, we only have 1. That's to the halfway house. Goes back to the foyer basically. 2 goes to the upper level, but its deal is based on the door itself. Study, door to upper level, hit 1 to go back to lower level, door back to studies, the lower level, and its choice is 1, and that's fine. The next thing is go back to the room manager. What we have to do is to look at the children. So var door equals null, then doors equals current room dot get children, or door indoors choice number is equal to door dot choice change room choice number. So this is how it's supposed to go. So say we're in the study. Actually, I should do an if here. We'll base it on here. If it's not equal to that, then we'll say else, and we'll put these in underneath the else here, and that's going to be a colon. Based on the choice number, this is assuming the study actually has a number in it. It does. It's got the halfway house. The 2 is the upper level. We get to the dealie, checking for input. We're going to loop through each of these. We're going to say choice plus choice number. So we get to 1 here. If choice 1 is pressed, then we're going to check the current room for the choices, and we're going to see if there is any text in the choice array. In this case, there's a 1 there. Then it's going to say, okay, it was choice 1 that they picked. So now we find the file current room.choices choice number. That's going to be 1, and it's going to be halfway house. So it's going to create the halfway house scene, full path and everything. It's going to change the room by doing that. If it's empty, you're going to go through each of the doors. So for door and doors, choice number is equal to door choice is a string. So we need to cast this to an integer. We have a string to, there we go. Now choice number is the number, and door choice is going to be the string that it converts to the number. If choice number is equal to door choice, you're going to change the room with the destination. Change room door dot destination. Going through my head, it encounters a space. In fact, for number 2, there's nothing there. Empty string. Not an empty string, do this. If it is an empty string, cycle through the doors. There's only going to be 1 door. Choice number equals int door choice. So let's say we're on number 2. We come in and there's no string there. We cycle through the doors. This door says it's choice number 2. If the choice number, which is 2, is the same as the door.choice, which is also 2, then change room to the door's destination. And then everything should still work like it works, except I should be able to go to the upper level from here. Should is the keyword. Doesn't mean it's going to work. I hit play. We're going to go to 1, study, upper level. Here you are on the upper level of study with even more books to go through. Hit 1 to go back to the lower level. 1, 2 to go back to the upper level. 0 to exit. Everything works. Hunky dory. That's great. That's great. Okay. So basically all I did was I removed the choices from the room class. It's relying solely on the doors. They have the choice number and the destination. Eventually it'll just match a name. It won't even be a choice number, but right now you need a choice number because that's what you make on the keyboard. Press 1 through 9 on the keyboard, then it goes, finds the right thing, and then starts up the room. We remove that. We add stuff. We actually iterating through children of the room. It could end up having the ability to do more than 9 when I start adding the directions as separate destinations. But right now, this is how it works. 1, see, it's going like normal. It's going like normal. Hubert's abode. Go to the hat room. Go back to foyer. 0 to quit. And there you have it.